been like seeking for the right time, seeking the right way to share this, and I haven't really gotten a better way to do it. So today I'm just going to do it anyway. So that means there's going to be a lot of stories. Some of them are going to be boring. Some of them might catch your attention. Some of them I'm just really delighted to praise God that He's been able to keep me around. He's been able to show me His ways. So in First John chapter 5, he really talked about knowing God. So this is how I know God. And my knowing for Jesus Christ reflects the understanding that those that came before me knew Him. So knowing Him comes in two ways. One, the experience that God exposes us every day. So that is the order. So every experience, every bit, every part that I have stepped, I have learned to realize that there is always a word. There is always a message that God was sending my way. And as those things accumulate, I got to get to the point where I realized, hey, I took that for granted, but now here it is. It has grown me, it's made me overcome this. And also the second part of God showing us His way is by continuously imparting His wisdom to us through the words, through the gospel, through the dreams, through prophecies. All these things enhance the experience that we have because He foresees what is coming ahead of us. So last year sometime around December, I was really happy with my job. I was appointed like a main instructor for a class. I was contented. That was cool. But the Lord started speaking to me of looking for another job. I was like, why is God asking me to find a job now when I'm happy, I'm trying to do my PhD and things like this? So knowing Him and being able to walk and hear is very powerful vessel, is a very powerful weapon that we need to have as children of God. So yes, I applied. Someone reached out to me saying, hey, we have a job here. So I think you have right skills. So that happened in the same time that God was convicting me to look for a job. So I applied. It was a very competitive university. You've heard of Massachusetts. So that is where the Harvards of this world are, where the MITs of this world are. So that is one of those leagues. So I applied for that job, and they invited me to do on-campus interviews. So I did it without the knowledge of my professors here. That was tough. So it turned out to be ugly. And I think things kept on accumulating until I ended up losing my funding. I ended up losing even the job that I had here. So that was sometime in December. But God had given me this. He told me to do that. So sometimes when Mark was describing who God was, when John and Matthew, when all of them were describing what God meant to them, so I kept on looking at who does He mean to me? So Isaiah, I think Isaiah really sees God as an illuminator. So He illuminates our understanding of Him. He opens our eyes to see things that are beyond us. He says He's a reprover. So that means He reapproves the plans, the desires of our hearts. So if those desires are not in line with His desires, He disapproves it. And then Isaiah still sees God as a judge. He sees Him as a lawgiver. He sees Him as a burden bearer. So all that time, I had a lot of burdens in me. But I've learned to give it unto Him, because Isaiah tells me that God, if you know Him, you would know that He is a burden bearer. He will bear all your burdens. He is a sin bearer. He is an intercessor. So sometimes we ask people to pray for us. Sometimes we seek that someone prays for us. But they would say, yeah, I'm going to pray for you, but they will not. So what you really need to know, that Jesus Christ, the God that we serve, He is an intercessor. He intercedes for us even when we haven't asked. That's why things come to pass. He is our Savior. That is what Isaiah says. That's what Isaiah talks about. So of all these qualities that Isaiah discussed of Jesus Christ, he says, I need to give him a name. But who can I call him? Because of all these qualities. He says, I can call him Emmanuel because he's always with us. I can call him a mighty God because he's mighty. I can see what he's done in my life. So he was describing God based on the experience that he had and the continuous revelations that God had given him. So he was able, he was in position to seek for the right name to call him. He says he's the Prince of Peace. He is the arm of God. He is anointed preacher. So he is a mighty traveler. So Jesus Christ moved from one place to the other, presenting his word to people, loving those that do not desire him. So that is how Isaiah saw him. So Matthew, on the other side, remember this lineup of mighty men of God. Matthew says, Isaiah, you're kidding me. You're joking. No. He is a kingly Messiah. That is what Matthew thinks Jesus Christ has. He is a fulfiller. So what does this mean? So this really struck my understanding that once God has promised you something, he will fulfill it. He will fulfill your purpose. He will fulfill your destiny. He will fulfill your work. He will fulfill the motions that you've started. He will totally and completely fulfill your desires that are in line with him. So my desires at the time, I need to finish this PhD. My desire at the time, I need to continue helping my brothers and sisters. My desires at the time, I need to see my mother go through medication. My desires at the time, I need to keep on helping my brothers, help our family. I need to help however I can, but I also need to progress in what I'm doing in the US. So he fulfilled it totally by providing other avenues. Richard just jumped in and took over everything. So that was the time our mother was sick. So he took over, God provided. So sometimes when God cannot provide through you, he will provide through other means that is put aside. So that is what I see my God as. He is a fulfiller. Even when I'm not able to do, he will always provide other values. So I was stressed. I was stressed that I could not do things. I was stressed. I was worried about whether or not these kids would go back to school. But the God that I serve said, don't worry. I'm just preparing. I'm working in you. When I'm working in you, I will walk through some other person to see these things come to pass. So Mark, on the other side, says, no, boys, I see God. I also know him. I know him as a wonder worker. I know him as a straight way. So when we're looking at Mark, and Mark really talking about God being a straight way. In this case, a straight way is immediate working God. So what does that mean? So if anything happens and you call onto him, he immediately responds. So sometimes he even responds to our prayers before we ask. He provides the avenues to sort our case when we are in need of him. That's why he says, call unto me and I will answer your cry through prayer. He says that he guarantees it because he will definitely fulfill. He will definitely answer that thing. So again, if there is anything that you've asked, if you're not seeing it, if it's not working for you, he is working in you. He is molding you. He is preparing you. He is reshaping you. He is turning you to the form that he desires, that when you are ready to receive that you've asked from him. That is the God that Mark sees. That is the same God that I see. I know that he's worked in me. I know that he's worked through me. I know that he's reshaped me. He's remodeled me He's turned me to the person that he desires me to be. At this point, when those things were answered, I was ready to receive it as he's called me. God, and Mark still continues to say that the God that we serve is a friend of sinners. I don't know about you, but I am a sinner. But I also know that he came looking for me, that he will not leave me. So again, he says, God, who is a friend of sinners, does not allow people to determine who he saves. Look at these people that go preaching. If I were to go preaching, I would think of going to preach to someone that I know. I would want to share the word with my brother. I would want to share a word with my sister. I would want to share a word with my relative. I would want to share a word with someone that I have an idea, with someone that I perceive would be able to listen and receive Jesus Christ. But in his kingdom, he says he's a friend of sinners, and he does not allow anyone to determine the person he saves. He does not allow us to determine people that we preach to. He just wants us to go there and preach and do his work. That's why we don't have to chase people that we don't like. We do chase people that we don't like. We do chase people that don't think like us. We do denounce people that we don't think can fit in our community. The God that Mark sees, the God that I see, does not allow that. That's why he says, do not judge, because we judge. When we judge, we disapprove. When we disapprove, we want to send people away from our lives. He says, let them come. I am the only God, the God of those that are not like us, don't think like us, don't do things like we do, don't live the way we do. He is the same God of those people. That's why everyone has the confidence to walk in any church, because God paid for that church. God paid for the church by his blood. So that is the God that Mark sees. That is the same God that we see. So when we move, when we walk, when we serve him, we should not have boundaries. We should have an open mind. We should have an open heart. We should have an open way of walking, because we are vessels that God has given us. So taking us back to my case. So I lost my funding. I lost my teaching job. And I had thoughts of places that I can find jobs. I have friends in places that really would employ me, but God wanted something different. God was showing me different things. 4 months ago, I applied for certain job somewhere. I also applied for IBM. I also applied for another one. So cutting story short, I did not get a job from University of Massachusetts because things got complicated. And God was just walking me through this process. He was just showing me what he wanted me to. He was giving me enough experience to get to know how the things are. And then I did an interview with IBM. They were like, oh, this is awesome, but we need you to finish your PhD, then you can come and work with us. So I was like, no, I want it now. No, I don't want it. The God that I serve is a straightway God. The God that works now, and I want it now. And that was a sign that IBM was not the place. So let's say four months ago, we had another competitive job that we applied. Over 200 people applied for it, and I got to be invited to do interviews, and then on-campus interviews. That was really crazy. So the God that we serve really places us to places that he desires us to be, that when we walk with him, that when we are not selective, he will really provide us. He will take us where he desires us to be. So my testimony here is 2 months and a half, or about 2 months ago, I got a job offer from university, and I am supposed to be a faculty member there. But the process, getting a job offer, is just the starting of the process. That you need to, being an international, you need to have a work visa to start working, or else you won't get that. You need this job that I will be having is also affiliated to Air Force in a way. So you need some level of clearances, that security clearance, and things like that. But God has been moving. God has been working through all this process, making things smooth. And so getting a work visa in the US is not something easy, but he told me pray for it. So the process right now is they do a raffle, like pick all companies that want to employ people, then they raffle, and then they select people to be interviewed at random. So that is crazy. That is something that cannot be done easily at the time. But God was on my side. I just wanted to say that I got a work visa this week. So I was authorized to work. So that's one of the big testimonies that God has been providing all the things, lining my steps. He says, don't panic. I wanted to tell everyone that, hey, I got a job. But he was like, no, keep quiet. I'm still working. I'm still working. So he's provided that. And a few months ago, of course, when they say you don't have a job, that means there's no pay coming in here and there. But he's been able to provide rent. He's been able to provide food. He's been able to provide all those things that I need. One of the testimonies, one of the big things that I was worried about, thanking God for, was I had almost nothing in my bank account, and someone that knows me really well talks to someone that are like, okay, we're giving you $500. What is your account? What are your names? I was like, oh, this is amazing. But God told me, no, you need to give out that money. So I was like telling him, oh, let's do it for something else. Don't send it here. Send it to this person. And those were the things that if he tells you, do it, just do it, because he foresees what is ahead of you. So after giving that, I was like, oh, no, I don't know what I'm going to do, rent or stuff like that. But some other old guy that has known me for a while called me to his house and wrote me a check of 1,000 US dollars. That's a lot of money to write to someone there. It's like, oh, Mr. Tom, you always delight me, your smile and things like that. I just wanted to bless you with this. I was like, God, oh God, oh God. So that's to me, that's a lot of money, and I was there crying like a baby. I was like, God, thank you for providing all this. So he's been providing, even when we don't see, when we are not where he desires us to be yet. He will provide us through the process. It's been a stretch, living 9 months without being sure what's going on. Who am I going to be tomorrow? I did not worry about who I was going to be tomorrow. I only stick to serving him, following his purpose, walking by him, praising him, worshiping him. He gave me enough time to be able to do things like that. So looking at Mark, looking at Isaiah, looking at Matthew, they describe the God that they knew. And that description came about by their experience walking with him, serving him, and seeing him move in situations that were really tight for them. I also know that the same God that Mark served, the same God that Matthew served, the same God that Isaiah served, is the same God that I serve today. And the way he moved those days is the same way he's moving. He takes me to places. He exposes me to experiences. Some of them I don't want to experience. I just want soft life. I'm a nice guy, I think. I want things to be nice on my side every time and then. But he says you cannot get strong. You cannot get stronger if everything is nice. I'm testing you. I'm molding you. So as I mold you, I'm going to break you in pieces. As I break you, those pieces are going to bless other people. So I've gotten time to learn how to pray for others. I've gotten time to learn how to encourage others. One of my friends, she was almost she actually was committing suicide, and she just called me to say, I don't want it anymore. I want to end it here today. And I did not know what to say, but she allowed and we talked. And I want to thank God that she is not dead. Others, so many people have been able to see people differently through this. So I just want to thank God that this experience that He's given me is good enough. It's better than a job that I was seeking for. I'm really so excited about the job that He's given me in Dayton, but I am more excited of doing His work. One person approached me. I had a meeting yesterday. Someone appointed me to be a board of directors of his ministry, and his ministry is children's ministry. He wants to open schools. He wants to open orphanages in Kenya and Uganda. So things like those are the things that move my heart. He wants to run crusades, preaching the gospel. Things like those are the things that excite me. And I'm really so much excited that he touched that men's heart to actually bring me to this experience, get to know how they find fundraising here in the US to do missions outside. So things like that are the things that excite me in studying. I'm supposed to relocate to Ohio to start my job next month, and of course, God knows that I don't have money. When you're relocating, you need a lot of money. Going, get a house and do things like that. But the university has a lot of package. Some of them, every time I read these offers, like, oh, this is there. So they're like, oh, you have a job, you have a wife, we give your wife a job. So we want to make it easy for you to accept the job that we have. You have children, we are going to educate your children from nursery to university until, so if I have children, they won't pay any fee, insurance, all those things. So just God taking my way away from worrying of fees, because fee is a worry. It's like, I don't want you to think about fees anymore. I want you to think about my word. So one thing that I want to share with you is the God that we serve is the only God that can give us blessings, the blessings that will interfere that will actually like compete with our desire to serve Him. Because if God blesses us, we are most likely going to take our attention from Him and redirect that attention to the blessings that He's given us. Remember Lucifer, God blessed Lucifer with beauty, and He said, I want you to use that beauty to worship me. But Lucifer became crazy and was like, no, I'm so awesome. This gift is only what I got. So Lucifer did not worship God as he had. And what did God do? He cut her off. He just chased her off. Adam, God blessed Adam with a wife. You know what Adam did? He was supposed to follow God. And at the end of the day, he started following his wife. And what did God do? He cut him off. Much as I'm excited about this blessing that God has given me, I'm also scared. I'm scared that I don't want this job to take my attention away from serving God. And today I just want to ask you to keep me accountable of the service that I have for God, the time that I have for Him, the desire that I have to fellowship and look for Him, that my job becomes a secondary purpose, but God should stay the first, because He provided me PhD. The enemy almost took it because I thought I had it all. I was in the news doing things like that. But when things turned, I realized that it is only God that we need to come to. So as you seek, as you desire, as you look for things that your life desires, God should come first. And then those things come later, because all those are blessings that He can. Remember, the God that we serve sometimes gives us blessings that rival Him. We should choose Him. It's gonna get to a point where you feel like, no. I got it all. I have it. I don't have time to go to prayer. I don't have time to fellowship. I don't have time to preach. I don't have time to pray. I don't have time to fast because I'm a busy person. We should not reach to that point, because when you reach to that point, you have taken the direction of the blessing that of the Lord, and God does not follow the directions of the blessings that He gives us. God wants us to follow Him. That the more we stick following Him, the more He will open other ways, other seas, other sides that He desires for us, because it is our will to serve Him that He looks at, our heart, our faith in Him that He looks at, not the faith in the things of this world. I am just asking you, keep me accountable. I have a very exciting job, good paying job, very good paying job. But I want it to be a secondary purpose of my life. I want God to be the primary. I want myself to continue seeking Him, sharing everything that I know how, getting to learn, to walk by His will. And I want you to keep me accountable. The God that we serve will always open these things to us. He will always show us these things. Some of these things, that is just a trap that He has set on you. A trap to see that, can you be able to handle this? Because I need to give you many, many, many more ahead of you. Are you able to handle this small thing here? If you're able to do that, then our God will be glad and delighted with us. If we're not able to do that, He will cut us off. And then we shall cry again. We shall cry again.
Actually,
so, yeah. All right. So let's pray. Lord, we want to thank You. We want to glorify Your name, Papa. You are God, my God. You are my Savior. We thank You for the word, oh Lord. We know You. We know You. In Jesus' name. Worship You.